hello. Don't. There
Hello.
we go. Good morning, Kat.
Can you hear me all right?
I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Hello, everybody in each chat. Welcome to King and Cat in the Morning. I hope everybody's having an awesome Saturday out there in Twitch world.
Yes.
Today, for everybody who is here, I wanted to start with some
What?
positive affirmations. Just basically talking about things in the last couple days, maybe that we did that, and I've done this on my Just Chatting stream, but I think it's a really nice way to kind of bring everybody into this is to talk about positive things that have happened. And I know during this time right now, it's hard to find those positive things, but they are out there. They're in our every single day life, and there are wonderful reasons to be even slightly a little bit happier than you were yesterday if you can find those.
Yeah.
And so like yesterday, I didn't feel well. I had a lot of anxiety. I'm well accustomed to biting off more than I can chew, and sometimes it gets away from me. And yesterday, at one point, it did that, so I decided to take a nap. And usually, guys, that 100% fixes most of the issues. But the problem here being is it didn't. So instead of feeling bad for myself, I did the thing that I hate the most, and I went to go work out. And I'll be honest, and I'm saying this as somebody who despises for some reason spending his time working out, even though I know what the end benefit is going to be. It was wonderful. It was very, very helpful. So that was kind of my positive affirmation of yesterday, was after I had a bad day, doing something that I didn't like and still choosing to actively let that make me feel better.
Yeah. There are actually a lot of studies that show that, working out does boost like your serotonin, and just setting that kind of schedule for yourself is really helpful for when you are feeling. Are you copying the way I'm drinking my coffee? It's hot, so I don't want to
See, mine's iced. It doesn't need the little balance at the bottom.
drinking iced coffee.
I'm drinking Duff beer. This talk show brought to you by Duff. But yeah, give me something positive affirmation wise that we can.
Yeah.
What's something positive
So
for you?
I know I've mentioned this before, but I'm like super into witchcraft right now. For those of you guys who don't know, I am a little baby witch, a budding witch. So super into spell magic. That's redundant. Candle magic. But basically with candle magic is you light a candle and then you set an intention that you place underneath the candle, and as the candle burns, the wax covers it, and you're basically setting your intention and your manifestation. So something that I've kind of been like an affirmation that I've been trying to uphold and like manifest is I have the drive to pursue my passions. So that's kind of like what I've been working towards recently, or what I've been trying to focus on, especially with COVID. So I don't know if like many of you guys know, but I was unemployed for almost 8 months. And in that time, basically did nothing. Like Neon started streaming, I would just like sit in his room and just like roll around bed for like a couple hours. It got to the point where sometimes I would just like, he would just catch me like sitting on the edge of the bed, just staring out the window, like not doing anything.
Literally a cat. You had become an embodiment of the cats that you lived with.
Exactly. And then he would just be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, yeah, I feel like I've run out of things to do, and like nothing is piquing my interest right now. But since I've started streaming and I tried to pick up my writing again, and I was working out like a couple weeks ago, but I'm not anymore. But having all those things kind of introduced into my life, it's like, you know what, I want to keep on track with this and keep going. And Jon Snow is just full on like giving us a full show in the background,
giving everybody a show.
Serving us looks.
He really was, and he knew that I was looking at him, through the camera, and he just stared right back.
It's like when you make eye contact with someone in a mirror and you're like, are you also looking at me right now? Are you looking at me right now?
So bringing up, oddly enough, witchcraft and bringing into the like making something real throughout heavy thought. There was actually an early on Supernatural episode, very early on Supernatural episode, where this creature came out. He was basically amalgam of people's thoughts and fears, and the
Yes.
thought of him was what brought him out. And I really, really like that because when you take away the aspect of the supernatural and the fantasy part of it, putting your mind towards something, setting a certain goal in your mind, actively working on it, figuring out how to tweak it, figuring out how to make it better, figuring out how to make it more right for your life is
Hmm.
a giant step in the right direction. And I think
Yeah.
that there's not enough credit with just a simple thought of I want to make my life better in any sort of way. And a big problem that I've always had with how we currently run the television, cinema, all of that is we show you the bad thing and then how they got over it. What you didn't see is the immense amount of time in between where a real life person would have to think, dwell, have anxieties, lose
Yes.
sleep, like they're and I think that I mean, hell, even being on Twitch all day sometimes, like, I need to pull myself out. I need to breathe. I need to take in a moment, and I need to remember that time, no matter how fast it seems to be going, is moving slow.
Yes,
Taking
for
those
sure.
moments, taking those steps to better even just a couple thoughts is really helpful.
I totally agree with that, and it's so interesting because like I don't think a lot of people think about this or know this, but like industries like television, like Twitch, even broadcasting, entertainment, all you see are these like amazing projects that people put together, but there is, like you said, so much anxiety, so much stress, so much given up time, like so much lost time that's given to these projects. Like I remember when I was like, well, my current job, but also like this was like almost a year ago now, but I was, assistant on a photo shoot, and or like we were filming like some kind of like almost like music videos, but I had like set the schedule, and I was like, you know what, we'll start at 8 a.m. We'll be done by 8 p.m. Perfect. I was there till like 2 a.m. and I'm like, what? Like, it's totally worth it because once you see the final product, you're like, yes, I was a part of that. It's amazing, but you are so dead, and that was only for like a couple short pieces. Like, can you imagine? Like,
I mean, I can
broadcasting takes
imagine the
forever, and
anxiety
like,
because, like, this morning, last night, I was full of it, thinking about things that I wanted to do for this, thinking about how I wanted this to go, and no matter how many times I specifically told my brain everything's gonna be okay, I still had a lot of anxiety. I still, as
mhm.
I'm talking to you, as I'm talking to all of you, have a lot of anxiety about this. But that's okay. I think that that's okay. A couple things that I want to add on to what you were saying, though. The guy that you had me listen to, what's his name again?
Alain de Botton.
Thank you. I wasn't going to pronounce that right, and I wanted people to know who it was. Excellent, excellent philosopher. The things that he said were phenomenal. But one of the things that he said, I cannot agree with more. And this is not coming from a place of religion. I need that to be known. But one of my
Hmm.
favorite sayings ever is, man plans, God laughs. And that's how
Yeah.
life is. Another way to go with it is if anybody here is a fan of DC Comics, the show The Flash. Captain Cold has a saying, make a plan, execute a plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, and throw away the plan. That's how I try to live life. Make a plan, expect it to get fucked up, figure out how to make my next step and how to better things from there, because we are going to
Yeah.
fall. We're going to get hurt. We're going to have traumas. Every single person has their own personal traumas, which doesn't make their traumas better or worse than anybody else's. It just means that we've all had a human experience.
Exactly.
And we
And that
need
goes into
to,
the thing where, you can't control the external factors around you. You can only control how you respond to them. Like that's very much in line with that. Like that's literally the only thing you have control of is yourself and the way you think and the way you process situations. So as cheesy as it is, that idea of finding the silver lining or using every opportunity to learn and grow, like that's how I kind of move forward in my life. It's like no matter how awful a situation is or how difficult, like in work, in romance, like these things were meant to happen to you because they're giving you an opportunity to become your more actualized self.
No, absolutely, and that's the wonderful thing about the actualized self, or as I try to think of it, the best version of who I am is that I want I want the idea of that person to never go away, because it won't.
Hmm.
I'm going to continue jumping through hoops. I'm going to continue to making myself better, making the things that I do better, and by doing that, it's not like a rabbit that the that the hound is eventually going to catch. You're going to keep going. There is no bettering yourself is one of the hardest things that any human can do, because there is no end game.
Yes.
And if there is an end game, there really shouldn't be, because you should keep moving. If you go into something thinking, hey, I don't like my disposition on the way that I play video games,
Yeah.
how do I change that? How do I go in, find a perspective that maybe helps me be not as short-tempered, or when I start being short-tempered about the toxicity, what can I do to change that? And
Hmm.
like you were saying, it's never about changing the reactions of what other people do. It's about how I feel about it. It's about how I present myself to these people, and how my perception is. But let me be honest, every one of our perceptions could be fucking wrong. Every single one of them. There are dimensions and layers that we will never understand. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Just, that's okay.
100%. I love the point that you just made about setting like flexible goals. It's like anything else with your life, when you're like trying to save money, trying to lose weight, you set a goal and you're like, okay, by this day, I wanna save this much money. And if you don't get there at that time, you just push the goal. Or if you do get there, you're like, okay, now I want to save this much money. Like, you're not ever just gonna be like, you know what, I've achieved this goal. I'm done now. Let me just turn off. Like, it doesn't work like that. Life just keeps going, no matter if you want it to or not. It just keeps going.
Absolutely. And there I think I've told you this before, but there's this incredibly common misconception that happiness is a place that you go, that happiness is a destination, that you can buy a plane ticket to happiness, and that's just not true. Happiness
Hmm.
is a compass. Happiness is leading you to betterment. Happiness is leading you to things that you might enjoy. And I think that it's hard for people to tell the difference. I mean, especially nowadays when we have so many instant gratification things. You want to buy
Yes.
something and have it show up tomorrow? Cool.
Yes.
Hell, here's a drone to do it.
Yeah.
We've kind of run away from the core values of what humanity happiness is. And
Hmm.
I think that it's important that to understand that. Again, this is going back to what I said earlier, taking a step back, taking a breath, remembering to be in whatever type of moment you are in is very, very, very important.
Yeah, 100%. Like that instant gratification thing, I'm so glad that you brought up that term, because it's so like it's such a bomb of a subject also, because this is what Twitch like is like the personification of instant gratification. I'm sorry if that triggers anyone, but it's like you're streaming and then you get, your mood is brought down if you notice that you're not getting enough views, or like, you don't get any subs, or no one cheers, or just like no one's watching you in general. Same thing with social media. Like my last couple posts have not been doing as well as my previous posts, and I'm like, I've been on social media for so long, like these things shouldn't bother me, but I'm like why I'm so irked about it, and I shouldn't be, but it's part of our society and part of who we are as human social beings, that we need to kind of like feel appreciated by others, and social media and things like Twitch and like all these different applications
Mhm.
like heightens that, and like kind of turns that need into this like grotesque, like oversized monster that just follows us around everywhere. I don't know if you feel like a similar way, but like me
Constantly.
with TikTok now, I'm like refreshing my TikTok like every 20 seconds. I'm like, has someone new liked it? Like, people watch my TikTok. Like,
So I actually have a weird runoff of that, where we're going to talk about relationships for a second and dating in the
hmm,
modern age, because listening to our philosophy gentleman, he said something that I wholeheartedly agree with. Actually, the entire podcast of his that I listened to, I agree with. But something that he said is, we are all broken, all of us.
Yes.
Every single one of us is broken, and not. I don't mean that like you're a bad person. I'm saying that we judge so harshly on little hiccups while projecting our own insecurities and fears.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is that if we can just move past that little part of brokenness, we can make a bigger, better connection with
Yeah.
the people that we want to. But getting back to relationships, if you think about how we go with instant gratification, that kind of takes away from a lot of the affection that you would be getting or searching for in a partner. Um, so you turn to social media,
Yeah.
which now there's thousands of different platforms and things that you can do to get the kind of attention. And I think that instant gratification attention is what we seek a lot when we're dating nowadays, which makes it
Mm-hmm.
hard to do the dating
Oh,
in any sort of context, because what we're doing is we're going in and we're saying, I want you to make me happy the way that Instagram likes make me happy, and that's
yes.
just unfair.
Exactly. Well, if you look at dating apps are a perfect example of that. It's like, okay, you find someone cute. If you swipe on them and you guys match, instant gratification. You're like, okay, awesome. They find me attractive as well. One of you starts the conversation. You message them. If they message you back within like a reasonable amount of time that you set in your, like a time limit that you set in your mind, you're like, oh, perfect. They must really like me because they responded within 30 seconds. But then as soon as they stop responding immediately, as soon as like they kind of like fall off your radar or you fall off theirs, you're like, okay, whatever, on to the next one. Like, you're not giving me the attention that I want, that I
That
think
hits
I
home
need and I
so
deserve. You're like,
hard.
okay, next one. And like dating apps are they're so bad for this because like you swipe and you swipe and you swipe and it's like endless people. So it's like, everyone, you think you're so great. Look, there's like 3 other people behind you, like ready to go.
I can't remember the song. I can't even remember who sings it. I know that once I say it, a million people know. But and it goes so well with social media and dating. But it's, I fall in love just a little bit every day with someone new. I do. I get on and I'm like, wow, this person's amazing. I hope they match with me. And then I literally never think of them again if they don't match, or if they don't match, or, it's never going to cross my mind. But in that specific moment, I know that if I swipe right and it goes, you have a match, I'm going to be
Yep.
really, really happy for that brief moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to
You're
start
like
talking to each other and
serotonin
realize
levels.
that we have nothing in common. And I've made this comment on other people's streams before, but I, the person that I am, want to be wooed. I want somebody to show that they're actually interested in me. Hell, if somebody came up and was like, here's a flower, I think you're cute, do you understand? I'd swoon. I'd just die. Men have trouble receiving compliments, and from that we've created this horrible problem where women compliment men take it too far, because it was just meant to be a compliment, and suddenly there's a fracture in the relationship over a compliment. And I think that that's because the way that the generations passed and my trauma personally shaped me was through a lot of toxic masculinity. And I don't love that, I tell my male friends now that I love them more than I do my women friends, because now I'm afraid of the roles reversing, that they're going to think that I am in love with them. But the truth is that I'm just trying to be a caring person. I'm just trying to be somebody who shows support. And I've had this real bad misunderstanding my entire life, because people think it's weird when you just want to help. Do you guys know that? Like, have you ever tried to just help a friend and they push back aggressively? It's because people aren't used to that. People aren't used to wanting to help.
Moving into that topic of like toxic masculinity, I feel like especially within dating, it's such like the gender norms and all the things that go into that. Like I have a handful of single friends, and watching them like date or get to know guys, it's such a like ridiculously overcomplicated dance that they do. And like even in this day and age with like apps like Bumble, where like the girl's supposed to make the first move and it's supposed to be like this thing that, you know, revolutionizes dating, but it's still it's still very much like all my girlfriends are like, oh, like this guy, he's just, you know, he's just being a playboy, like being that jackass that's like emotionally unavailable, or like hanging out with his boys,
I mean,
and
we're all
like
kind of
paying
emotionally
attention and like
unavailable. We're all pretty. I mean, dude, don't get me wrong. I've met people who are just like full brimming with love and
yeah,
like want to give that, and that's dangerous. Like a puppy, don't do that. But we're all there is something beautiful in the human suffering when we're
yes,
doing it together.
yes,
and
well,
and I think that our philosopher friend said it great, that he was like, listen, if you came into the relationship saying, I sometimes lash out because I'm afraid of being abandoned,
yeah,
there is so much love and emotion and wonder in that.
mm-hmm,
um and it really opens up communications and break down barriers and walls that maybe you or the person partner in question didn't even realize you had.
yeah. So when I discovered Alen, I made Neon like listen to like his podcast and his YouTube video, and that's kind of what we base our communication on as well. Like if we're feeling like, if I start getting snippy with Neon, with Phil, I'm like, you know what, I'm so sorry. Like I'll like 5 minutes later or during my snippy bout, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm feeling this way because this, and I need you to just like ride with me, like let me get these emotions out. And he's the same way. Like he'll be snippy back, or you know, I'll do something like mess up his like settings on his computer, and he'll be like, really again? But you know, we communicate these things with each other, and it goes like, it's not even just like just tell each other how you're feeling, like tell each other why you're feeling that
It
way.
can never
Like
it's never just what, guys, it's never
yeah,
ever just what. I've said this in multiple streams, but your words have power, every single one of them. So it's never ever what you said, it's how you said
yeah,
it. And that goes out to every
exactly,
single person listening on whoever's stream. It is how you say it that makes the big difference, um and that can really impact the relationship with whomever you're trying to have it with.
mm-hmm.
uh, uh I don't want to get into this particular topic right now because it's going to be a lengthy one, and but there was recently a troll on one of Kat's TikTok accounts, and the way he went about himself was so ridiculously immature, and it just showed that this person didn't think at all before they said what they did. And then they sent the kind of message like, hey, I don't know why you're simping, why you guys are getting so upset, it was just a joke, I didn't know you'd be sensitive. That's fucked up.
Yeah,
That's incredibly fucked up.
yeah,
The fact that this person would go into there to make a derogatory misogynistic comment towards you while you were creating content to help people is horrible.
exactly,
and
mm-hmm.
and um it is for attention. It is to try to get shock, and I think that it is a toxic mentality that we should leave in the past. So affirmation wise, right now, something that I personally am working on is I actually have this little whiteboard in my kitchen that I'm sure is supposed to be used for, like, normal whiteboard stuff, but I put like affirmations up there when I think of them, and this one in particular is for the current diet and exercise routine that I'm trying to put myself through. And it is,
Mm-hmm.
I am responsible for the creation and destruction of my own body. I don't control a lot in my life. When I play video games, when I'm even on Twitch, there's a lot of things that are out of my control. However, my mental and physical well-being are not. So like yesterday when I felt really, really crappy, I threw on Dragon Ball Super, listened to some angsty high school music, and did 5 miles on my exercise bike. and it helped. And even if that's not your process, I am not trying to advocate for exercise. I fucking hate it, and if you fucking hate it out there, I 100% agree with you. However, there are things that we can be doing that we're actively choosing not to do. There are things in our life that we are choosing to not make time for, because at that moment, at that exact impulse moment, we are deciding that it's not important enough for us.
No, I absolutely agree with that. It's that I have a quote tattooed on my ribs. It's kind of cheesy, but I got it when I was 18, and it is, "This too shall pass." But basically, just, the sentiment with that is that all things, good and bad, like eventually they, just become a part of your past. You move on from them. So no matter what's going on in your life right now, take that opportunity to learn, to process, gather as much information from it as you can, and try to make the best, most informed decision you can moving forward. So like with you feeling a little bit anxious, you're like, okay, I could either choose to wallow in this emotion and just sit here and do nothing and like allow myself to just like fall deeper into it, or I can take that energy, like that anxious energy, and like transfer it into like a workout,
Right,
into
or
like working on your
drawing,
stream.
or working on the stream, or exactly, like there doesn't have to be, again, not advocating one way or another, creativity, fitness, mental health, mental well-being. It's all very important in different aspects, and we keep wanting instant gratification when we write a story and it's not done on paper, but more of it's done in our head. We get frustrated and don't write anymore.
Yeah.
I'm pausing because that's going out to both you and I, because I do the exact same thing.
No, for sure. Specifically, like I feel like did I say this to you? But specifically with like actual writing. So I've shared my book or like my story with you, but I was talking to one of my other friends about this also. Writing is so difficult because you spend so much time, you pour so much energy into it, and you literally don't get any feedback or like solid feedback until the entire piece is done, which could take years. And then even then, like you try to get it published, you do all these things, and even after all of that, you still might not get enough feedback or get the response that you want. So it's such a prolonged, like looming process that I know I just need to get over and just do it. But like,
I actually want to
really slows me down.
I want to bring up what Friendship Magic Games just said, because I was about to bring up that same thing, and she put it in chat. If you can't find motivation, you substitute discipline. So I didn't just get on Twitch and decide I was going to start streaming. I've been on streams for 4 years. I've been in active communities, on active Discords, trying to hone what my identity, not only as myself, but as a streamer, would be. That was challenging, but the hardest part was just to do it. Once I eventually got the feeling, I'm gonna, and everything from there, I promise, guys, is going to go in a direction that you will more than likely be happy with, because you at least have some sort of momentum.
Yeah. See, I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me, it's always the first step that's the hardest. It's actually, gathering the energy, gathering the courage, gathering the resources to actually start. With any project I do, I have like all these ideas just like whirling around my head, and I'm like, if I just decided today to sit down and actually do it, I could probably get it done. Like, but am I going to? I don't know. We'll see.
Somebody the other day said IRL before URL. And it's true.
Yes.
That we need to be taking care of ourselves. We need to disconnect. We need to be able to, pull ourselves from the matrix, really, really, really show up and be in the moment for you. And I think a lot of what we talked about today is affirmation towards who you are, and trying to create a better version of that already wonderful person that you don't see.
It's that looming knowledge, like you were saying earlier, that all things are going to end, that you need to kind of channel into and transfer it into energy to get you to do things. So like, streaming, like if you guys are streaming right now, it's most likely because you have like more time on your hands and you're streaming more and you're making these awesome connections. But you got to keep in mind, like, you only have this opportunity because we're all stuck in here. You know, you start working. Like me, I'm getting like more and more busy with work during the day. I don't have like the time nor the resources right now to pour into the stream like I would like to have. But it's these other factors that kind of get in the way of the things that you want to do, that you just need to like kind of just get over. You're like, you know what? If
Sure.
you have the perfect opportunities presented in front of you, just do it, guys. Like you just, it's the hardest step is the first one, but just do it and take advantage of the moment and kind of,
Guys, it's the
take a step
first.
toward
It's
that
the
ideal life.
first step. Talk to anybody who does anything that you've ever been interested in. Photographers, Twitch streamers, YouTubers, hell, famous TikTokers. Any single one of them out there will tell you to just start doing it. You know, to create this drive within yourself that if you have an idea, and this is something that I tell Kat all the time, because I'm trying to get Kat to be more motivated in the sense of doing things, is stop overthinking it. When you have an idea, it's probably fucking brilliant. You should
Yes,
be doing those kind of ideas. You should go out there and you should apply it. And guess what? If it sucks, good. You'll grow. You'll be better. The next one you make will be better because you realize the faults in the first one. We don't learn anything by just continuing to succeed. We learn from falling. We learn from getting hurt. We learn from being vulnerable in a position that we didn't think that we were going to be vulnerable in.
100%.
But seriously, if you have something that you want to do, if you want to do TikTok, if you want to do drawing, if you want to write music, just get out there and start. It doesn't have to be big. None of it has to be big. It just has to start with an idea. Like this stream right now, in general, was an idea that we didn't know if we were going to be able to do, and it, honest to God, has been a wonderful hour already.
Yes. Honestly, with this stream, when we came up with the idea and we were deciding what day we wanted to start, I was like, you know what? I'm the type of person that like I prefer more time to prepare, because I would rather gather as many resources and have everything perfect. Like I'm a perfectionist. Like I was one of those kids that were like super high achieving and needed everything to be like top tier, like just yeah. So I was like, Saturday, too soon. But I was like, you know what? Just do it. Like, what is the extra week actually gonna do for you? You're just gonna sit there and like probably not even think about it because you're gonna be distracted by a ton of other things.
Or
like,
if you do think about it, you're not gonna write that down and you're not gonna do anything about it.
Why do you know me so well? Life gets in the way of things,
sure.
But you can still like move with the intention of eventually getting there, you know?
It's okay. Guys, if you had this great event planned, or if you had this wonderful date with your special someone, or if you just had something small planned and things don't go right, one of the mantras that I've been trying to work on in my life, and I feel like I've been doing this one for a couple years now, is if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, then today is still a good day.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot. Each and every one of you has had your own trauma and your own experiences and your own hurts. So pull from those. Don't like live in them, because living in our trauma can be incredibly dangerous. But pull from those. I've had some shit in my life that I'm confident to say that was dark and was grim and was not a fun place to be. So when I have a bad day because, I didn't get the attention of somebody that I wanted, or maybe a plan broke down, I try to remember that there could be a worse place. And honestly, I'm in a safe place in my life right now that I can say, that's okay. That's okay that didn't happen that way. Maybe next time it'll work a little bit better. Maybe next time things won't go awry. Or maybe next time things will go awry in a completely different way, a more fun way, I would like to be the person in my life that I always needed in my life, which means a good male role model, somebody that is positive, who who can make decisions for the betterment of their existence.
For me, it's I tend to fall into like my nihilistic mindset. I'm like, well, what, like the finality of life gets to me sometimes. I'm like, well, what is like the point? You know, I could just like sit here all day and just like enjoy food and like not give a shit about anything else. And like, you know, if I work out today, or if I stream today, or if I don't stream today, like what in the grand scheme of life is this going to change for me? So for me, that's like kind of the struggle that I have to get like out of in my day to day, like my mindset. Because that for me is just like this deep pit hole that I kind of fall into. Like if I write like a chapter of my story today, like what is that really going to change for me?
I mean, if you think about it,
when I'm 30,
you're writing a letter. Every single thing you do is writing a letter to your future self.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a cute way to put it.
Thanks. I thought about that last night.
Late night thoughts with Snazzy.
Every single thing that you do. Look back at your dumbass self at 17. You wrote a letter at 17 about who you were through your actions, through your motivations, through your disciplines, through your everything that you did and were at that time was a letter. And it's a time capsule that you can go back and visit and learn from. That is what the human experience is. That is, this life passing before your eyes thing could very well be you just experiencing life. Like right now, this could be your life flashing before your eyes. Just the generalized experience of what life is. So don't be afraid to go back and revisit those memories. The good ones, the bad ones, and make notes of what you can do if you get into that situation, if you become that person again, if you don't want to become that person, what you can do to prevent that from happening.
This is like triggering a like philosophical argument in my brain that I learned about in university. It's like that what is it, brain in a jar, or like evil scientist argument. Like, how do you know that you're not a just brain in a jar experiencing life? I know we're kind of derailing here, but I'm like, we can talk about this some other time. But it's so interesting. I was like, you know what?
We could all be zeros and ones right now. None of this could
this
be real.
Be the
like
Matrix.
This? What is this? What am I doing right now? How is this happening? How do we even exist? But we think, therefore we are. I mean, if we want to bring down to the base level, we are creations of our own thoughts and ideals. And I feel like that right there is the perfect stopping point. I had a wonderful time doing this. I very much so look forward to doing this next Saturday.
Me too.